Yo, what's going on, traders? Clay here with Top One Trader with our weekly Outlook video. Let's get right into it. So, surprisingly, I'm shooting this Friday. The market just closed, and this is weekly Outlook for August 24th, last week of August. And it was pretty crazy today. You know, we didn't have like any big data points, but we did have the Jackson Hole Emporium, and man, we had some massive moves today in the market, which I think are going to have a profound impact in this last week, the last week before we go into the fourth quarter. So I've been talking about this in the past few videos a lot, so I think it's going to be a pretty big deal. Let's take a look. Well, before we get into that, let's take a look at the data that we have this week. And we have Bank of Canada, which we had some big moves for CAD. I'm going to take a look at UCAD here in a second. We have some CPI out of Australia. Thursday, preliminary GDP. And then Friday, Canadian GDP. But, you know, outside of that, it's a very light week in terms of data. So, but again, everything from the Jackson Hole Symposium, so that was today. It's also going on Saturday, so we could have and probably will have a really crazy market open. So, you know, when we take a look at some of these dollar pairs, this big 4-hour candle right before market close or about noon really turned everything around, turned the market upside down right before market closed, right? So this is the dollar index here. Again, we're kind of range bound on the index itself, and you know, you can really see that in Euro USD, but a lot of dollar weakness came in with that last 4-hour candle. So some ways that I think, you know, this is really going to benefit traders moving forward is if you want to get long on dollars, I think DollarCAD is going to be a pretty good option here. You know, we have this nice zone which we're headed for on UCAD. Now, I typically favor shorts in general. You see dollar Swiss break down below 200 SMA. This is the 4-hour time frame. Very similar price action for UJ, which is interesting because I'd already had this marker right here from this high. You can see the high here. We go straight across, and a lot of touch points. It just breaks that high and then, you know, turns around right on its head. And, you know, you can really see this too on gold. But I talk about this a lot in my videos. You know, I like the 200 and this envelope that I use to really kind of determine whether or not we're range bound or we're in a trend, right? So this is a good example of a trend move. So now, taking a look at some of these other dollar pairs though, GU, still kind of in this range. Now the ones that I like specifically, buying dollars, I think NZDUSD is setting up super nice. We have this nice area right here. Early in the week, could be a good area to enter in the market. So shorting NZDUSD, like this a lot. And then of course, if you got NZDUSD, what's the other one you're going to look at? Or I would, at least, Aussie dollar. And I actually like Aussie dollar a little bit more here. So let's zoom out too and see. You can see this trend, right? And I was talking about the 200 and the envelope here. And we come right back in, retest this zone after we've broken these lows, right? So kind of retested right on this low here. If we begin to roll over, and this is what I'm going to be looking for early in the week, I think the short side for Aussie US dollar, and also too NZDUSD, which is really in even more of a clear downtrend, right? So we're making higher lows here, higher low, make another higher low. I think right around 59.20. It's going to be a really great option to move into the market, depending on how markets open on Sunday, because the Jackson Hole Symposium is still going to be going on over the weekend. So keep an eye out on that. We're getting into the last quarter of the year. September, October, price action gets really volatile. And I think it's going to be a really great time to trade, especially if you're on the right side of the market. So Let's have a great trading week, everybody. We appreciate y'all. Let's go. Peace.